Hi everybody, welcome back to Ride or Die. I'm back with yet another game haul video. I know it's been a little while. I missed the spring, so this video is going to be covering about a 6-month portion of 2024, spring and summer. These are all games that I picked up in this last period of time. Before we get started, I do want to let you know if there's any extra noise in this video, there are people working on the other side of the wall right now. So hopefully that won't make its way into the video. If it does, my apologies in advance, but that's what that sound is. I'll do my best to hide it in the edit. So we are at a really, really interesting time right now. There's a lot of rumors that the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be announced any day now. Actually, by the time I put this video out, it's possible it's already been announced. So I'm not going to be talking about that too much, you know, what to expect from a Nintendo Switch 2, but we do know that it is more than likely on its way and that we are in the last gasp period of time for the Nintendo Switch. So we're, you know, getting our last games, and normally with a console, the last year or 2 years of a console's life cycle, the games are pretty sparse and pretty lousy. I wouldn't say that's been the case for this final year for the Nintendo Switch, but it definitely has not been major releases, you know, outside of like the upcoming Zelda game that we're expecting in a week or two as of this recording. The Mario Party games, Mario, Luigi, Friendship. I'm looking forward to getting all those and, you know, making a video for those when the time comes. So this is just going to cover the purchases from spring and summer. I do have one 3DS game in here. I don't want to make the topic of this video a lie, but I'm going to throw it in there and cover it just to do it. But we're going to start off with Meo, the Smiling Man. Long story with this one. I didn't know that this was coming out physically in America. I assumed it wasn't because the original Famicom Detective Club did not come out physically in America. Thanks a lot, Nintendo. So I pre-ordered this from PlayAsia. PlayAsia took a very long time to ship me this American copy from Asia, and I have it now. I'm looking forward to playing it, but I'm actually playing the original Famicom Detective Club games, which again I couldn't get physically. There is a physical version of Famicom Detective Club in Japan, but that is in Japanese. It's one of those games that doesn't translate in English. So unfortunately, I was forced to purchase it digitally. I got that at a discount from GameStop. I am looking forward to playing through this one. I've heard really good things about it. If you don't like visual novels, you're probably not going to be into this. It's part detective story. A lot of it is trying things out. Famicom Detective Club is a series that started on the Famicom, which is the NES in Japan. That was its original name. So there are a lot of times when you're like trying to work your way through a case, and really what you're going to do is just kind of like try different options over and over and over again. That could be frustrating to some people. I don't know if that's made its way into Meo, the Smiling Man, or not, but if it is, then yeah, it's got a, probably has some old school charm to it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this. It is going to come behind the other Famicom Detective Club games. Next up, we have an oldie but goodie, Snipperclips Plus. I actually missed out on Snipperclips when it came out, and I wanted to pick up this DLC complete version that they put out. Snipperclips Plus includes the DLC that they made available. They put this out there. I don't think a ton of copies of it out there. I was curious to play it. I think this was like 30 bucks brand new on eBay. And yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it out. I typically only get games that I'm interested in. Do I think that it's going to get more valuable in the future? Yeah, maybe, because it's one of those DLC complete versions similar to the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that they put out. One weird thing about snipper clips is it sort of doesn't show up here, but they always look sort of sun faded for whatever reason. Like every copy I've ever seen has been sort of sun faded. I don't know why that is, but yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this. If you're not familiar with this game, it came out like sort of at the very beginning of the Nintendo Switch life cycle. A lot of people thought it should have just been packed in with the Switch, in addition to like 1-2 Switch. So yeah, we're getting more into party games. So hopefully this will work for our family. I got Omori. This was actually a recommendation from my nephew. He had picked it up, and I was curious to try it out myself. It's got an interesting sort of Junji Ito horror kind of vibe, an Uzumaki kind of thing going on. In addition to like Earthbound, so it's sort of like an RPG. I've played it a little bit. I'm looking forward to playing it a little bit more. I actually bought this copy physically from a person in Japan. So although it's from Fangamer and it translates into English, this copy is actually Japanese. It came with a little poster. It came with a little thank you note from the seller and some stickers, I think. So pretty cool stuff. It's just charming when they can make all this stuff happen. All right, our next game is actually going to be that 3DS game I brought up, which is Super Smash Brothers for the 3DS. I never picked this up because I actually owned the kind of partner version for Wii U, and it didn't make a lot of sense. They're very similar, or at least they seemed that way at the time. This goes for pretty cheap, a lot cheaper than I expected. This copy was only 15 bucks. I bought it at a used game store up in Pennsylvania. And since the online services are turned off, I don't know that I'm going to get like a ton of playability out of this. I mostly bought this to like have it. Honestly, Smash Brothers on the 3DS is kind of a curiosity to me. I don't know how you play this game without like completely ripping up your hands. But this is a nice copy. It is nice and clean, and if I could open it up, it looks good inside, comes complete with its manual. So for 15 bucks, I'm pretty happy with it. Next up, we have Trials of Mana. This is a game that I believe is a remake of an SNES title that did not release in America. They kind of gave it the remake treatment. I'm looking forward to playing this one. It has a kind of pseudo chibi art style, I guess I would say. People are really charmed by it. The Mana games for the SNES in particular had like a exceptionally charming art style for their time. People seem to really like this game and think it's a ton of fun. A lot of these Square Enix titles that have been brought to the Nintendo Switch have fluctuated in price throughout the year. Square Enix has said that they haven't had a great year overall. So scooping some of these things up while they're available has been sort of a priority for me in terms of getting these RPGs. So I kind of picked this one up so that I could eventually get to it, but it also just seems like a ton of fun. Okay, we have a limited release. This was from Limited Run. It's Shin-Chan, Me and the Professor on Summer Vacation. This is part of kind of like a series of games in the vein of, I think it's called Attack of the Friday Monsters, that I played through on the 3DS, which is a kind of loosely tied group of games where you're basically a kid in Japan living out your summer. This Shin-Chan title is just kind of from the same people that made that. I think it's maybe Level 5. This says Neos, but I want to say that it was Level 5 that had produced those titles. You're Shin-Chan, a famous Japanese cartoon character. You go to a relative's for summer vacation, and you end up living out a summer there. And so you do things like fishing and catching bugs and talking to people and going to shops and stuff. So if you ever wanted to relive your childhood of having a carefree summer life in rural Japan, this is maybe the best way to do it. It's a very chill game, and I'm glad that it's available physically. I wanted this, but I only wanted it if it was going to be available physically. So thankfully, Limited Run made that happen. As we're talking about physical releases of digital-only games, we've got Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars was a game that originally was only available digitally. I probably would not have bought it if it was only ever going to be available digitally. Ironically, this has sort of a Secret of Mana SNES era RPG-inspired art style. I've heard good things and I've heard bad things about this, so I'm looking forward to giving it a shot, but I also think that this is going to be like one of those things that I kind of get to eventually. As I said, I only buy games that I'm interested in eventually playing. Getting them while they're available now, particularly since this was a limited effort and it came with this custom slip cover. It's got some other goodies inside there as well. I want to say this was from... maybe, yeah, I Am 8-Bit. So I Am 8-Bit put this physical version out. I think you can actually get this in stores now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this eventually. This isn't a game that you have to go out and get, I would say. This isn't like a thing that you have to go spend $50 on. It is definitely a game that... if it had dropped on the 3DS, maybe midway through its life cycle, people would, you know, talk up, and it would have sold probably either in the eShop only or physical for like 25 bucks, 30 bucks, something like that. You'd see the little chips of these sitting loose in used game stores, and you'd pick it up for like 10 bucks. The big thing about Endless Ocean Luminous is that it has procedurally generated oceans. So that means that the ocean changes every time that you go scuba diving. Your only real job in this game is to look at fish and identify them. So it's about as chill as a game can get. You can play online with other people and it's fun, but there's not a ton to it. So again, I think this was $50, which is the new Nintendo reduced price point. This just isn't worth $50. It absolutely would have been worth maybe like 30 bucks. But if you can buy this used and you're curious about it, go for it. I mostly bought this out of kind of a completionist mindset, wanting to own those first-party Nintendo titles. So I don't regret having bought this, but if I was strapped for cash and this was, you know, the game that I picked out, I would be having major regrets. Okay, we've got Gang Beasts. Gang Beasts is a game that I bought pretty cheap off of Woot. I've owned it on other systems. It's a silly, stupid game. I didn't know that it was available physically for the Switch, so I picked it up, and I want to say it was like 12 bucks. There wasn't a lot more thought than that went into it. It's one of those rubber band physics types of games where you wrestle with other people. It doesn't explain itself very well. It takes a little bit to figure out, but once you do, it's a good time. Live Alive. This is a pretty cool game from what I understand. It's in the backlog of RPGs. This one got a little bit difficult to find for a little while, so I buckled down and picked it up. Since, again, Squeenix hasn't done terribly well this year, it would not surprise me if games like this start to just sort of disappear. I knew that I wanted to play it eventually, but I didn't want to do it digitally, so I went ahead and bit the bullet and got this physical copy. I'm looking forward to trying it out. If you're not familiar, this is a remake of an older game. I want to say that this was on the Famicom. It did not come to America. It might be the SNES, but it's done in that 2.5D RPG style from like Octopath Traveler and stuff. And from what I understand, you like live different lives. So you hop from character to character, living a life with that character. It's an interesting idea, and it's apparently sort of snappy in terms of playthrough, which is not something you get all the time from RPGs. A lot of RPGs are not very respectful of your time, and it sounds like this one might be. This is dumb. This is Paleo Pines. This is like a one of the million things that have come out in Animal Crossing's wake, where it's sort of a farming sim, but you in this one happen to ride dinosaurs. You have dinosaurs as pets. It's not too complicated. It's got a charming but sort of generic art style. This was $8 from Woot. I was mostly curious about it. Will I hold on to this forever? No, probably not. It plays okay. It's fine, but it's not like doing anything really groundbreaking. We got Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is actually a game that I played through all the way on the GameCube. I remember it pretty well, so although I played it when it came out, it just kind of stuck in my mind. I picked this up mostly for completion because I remember it so well. It looks the way that I remember it looking on the GameCube, so you know, that's great. I'm very thankful that this game is available because the GameCube versions were going. I actually saw, from personal experience, at a games convention, a copy of this game on GameCube selling for $1,000, and it was graded, but they wanted $1,000 flat for it, which is just absolutely ridiculous. It's a good game, and it should be available to people, and it should be at a price that people can afford it. So I'm glad that this came out to kind of like knock the wind out of the sails of the people that were trying to gouge everybody who wanted to play it. We've got Samba de Amigo. This is more in the vein of silly games. This was like 15 bucks, something like that. This is a fun game if you're maybe a little bit rhythm challenged and you're not good at dancing. So if you're like an apartment bound person and you want to be able to play a rhythm game, this is probably a good fit for you. You use your Joy-Cons, you shake them like maracas. This has that real old school Sega Dreamcast era kind of look to it, that almost like Jet Set Radio look, early 2000s kind of like iMac, you know, with the clear colors on the back kind of aesthetic to it. It's fun and like just dumb. It's like a dumb fun game. So if you're looking for something fun to play, I think this would be a fantastic game for kids, and they can play it relatively quietly. They're not going to be jumping up and down or banging on something. This is a good fit, I think, for families. Coming down to the wire here, we've just got two more games. One of those games is Capcom Fighting Collection. This is another game that I picked up because it was relatively cheap. This one is full of games like Deathstalkers, Night Warriors, Vampire Hunter. I cannot actually read the rest of these. Vampire Savior, Red Earth, Cyberbots, Puzzle Street Fighter 2. These are all games that I had never gotten a chance to play, and they are all sort of strange. Like if back in the day, if you would go to like a really complete arcade, they might have a cabinet that, you know, had Deathstalkers in it, for instance. But I've never heard of like Red Earth, Night Warriors, etc. So these sorts of collections are really a great chance to like not necessarily relive your childhood, because this was not my childhood, but to like experience those things that you missed out on in a pretty affordable package. So I want to say this was like 20 bucks. Yeah, I'll spend 20 bucks to try that out. They play like old fighters. You know, they've got that old school hand shredding technique. You do have an option of like how you want to display these games. You can have them be letterbox. You can make them look like a CRT TV, the older style tube TVs. This is worth it. Definitely worth it for 20 bucks. And then our final entry is Nintendo World Championships NES edition. So if you're not familiar, back in the day, Nintendo used to have these like World Championships where they would have people compete against one another to win prizes. And I guess this trophy that you see here is what they would win if they, you know, made it to the end. There's also a gold cartridge. The gold cartridge is pictured here on the back of the box. That comes along with this deluxe set. There is a digital version of this game for $30, and then this physical version, I want to say, was like 60 bucks. The game itself is not any different. This just comes with a bunch of goodies, It comes with that replica game pack that I talked about. It has a little pin set, and then it has some art cards. Once again, I kind of picked this up for completion's sake. This is kind of a weird title for Nintendo to put out. It's sort of in the vein of the NES Remix games, in that it basically takes existing games and chops them up, and it puts them into bite-sized little sections. And in this case, your goal is to speed run them, to play them as fast as you can. So you'll get an assignment like jump over the Goomba as fast as you can. And you might do that over and over and over again, these little actions that take like, a few seconds, and then they'll build up and they'll get more challenging, and they might end up taking a minute or 2 minutes or whatever it might be. This is definitely one of those types of titles that Nintendo would create and put out in the final year of a system launch, or I should say of a console's life cycle. It's fine. Do you need to run out and play it? No, probably not. If you don't have nostalgia for the NES era, I don't know that you would get a ton out of this. I think they've probably milked the NES era for everything that they're going to get out of it at this point. So I would look forward to a version of this with the SNES or the N64. So if this is the start of a new series, that's pretty cool. I'll take it. But if this is the starting place, we can do more. We can go other places. We could do more fun things, and we can let the NES behind us. It doesn't have to be part of our ongoing collective Nintendo experience. So with all that done, those are my games. As I said, I'm going to be looking at picking up some new titles as they come out. As I said, the Nintendo Switch 2 has not been announced as of the recording of this video. It may be announced by the time I'm done editing this video and I put it out to the world. We're expecting the new Zelda game, not Tears of the Kingdom. Zelda, I cannot remember the name of it. It's one where Zelda's the primary protagonist. We've got a new Mario Party Jamboree game that I'm really looking forward to. Mario and Luigi Brothership, some excellent titles, but I may not end up doing another one of these videos because there are so few titles expected to really launch between now and the Nintendo Switch 2. I do feel like I've picked up most of the games that I wanted to own physically. There's very few things that are left out there, but nothing has ever stopped me from, splurging on things that I don't need. So I'm sure I'll manage to scrounge some up. I'll probably be back with another one of these videos when I feel like I've accumulated a stack that's tall enough, or we've got some new games to talk about for the Nintendo Switch successor. That's going to do it for us today. If you like this video, if you could go ahead and give it a like. Subscribe to the channel. I don't put a ton of videos out, but if you'd like to be notified, you can ask YouTube to notify you, and that way you'll see when one pops up. But without further ado, thank you so much for waiting here to the end, and I hope you have a wonderful day.